All right, so we got the coils just kind of set in there for now. Ideally, you'd want it facing towards the firewall, but the problem is the connector is just way too close to the firewall there. So that's not even number. There's number 4 right there. So it's like really tight back there. So we're just gonna have to go through the front here, and what we're gonna try to do is essentially make another sub harness. That way, when you go to remove it, you can just remove the coils and the harness all together without having to unplug them individually. The reason why I say that is because these connectors can be a pain to remove because of the lock. So like I said, we're just going to build a sub harness. Fortunately enough, it's pretty simple. Pins 1 and 2 here. So one thing I do want to clarify is that these are what's called the VW short coils. So the short coils and the normal coils have 2 different pinouts. So on this one, if memory serves, and I'll correct this later, 1 and 2 should be grounds, and then 3 is power, and 4 should be signal. Because we are wasted spark, 2 of the coil signals are going to be tied together. So 1 and 4 will be tied together, and then 2 and 3 will be tied together. But all the grounds and powers will all go together into one single pin. So pretty cut and dry there. So yeah, we'll get started on building the sub harness and then going from there. Okay, so here's the second wire done. And as you can see, for the most part, it's kept its like distance really. It's obviously not super perfect, but it's going to get us within the ballpark. And you know, obviously we leave it a little bit long to have like a little bit of a margin of error. So we're going to go ahead and tie up the rest of them. So the last wire that's all connected together is the power wire, which is this white wire here. And then the other wire is paired together. So again, it's 1 and 4 as a pair, and then 2 and 3 as the other pair. All right, so I know it looks a mess, but the truth is that we haven't gotten close, obviously, to cleaning it up. The first thing that you want to do is check continuity. That's what I did off camera. So basically, you're just checking everything to make sure that you've got good continuity all the way through. You know, I did this with just stripping the leads at the end and then attaching to the meter and then just checking on. So we've got that going, and now we're going to start isolating and cleaning everything up. All right, so our harness is basically wrapped up. And you're going to see that it's essentially 2 harnesses, right? So we know that we're in waste spark, so 1 and 4 are together, and 2 and 3 are together. So essentially, it just lays out like this. So what we've got to do now, you'll see that there's a little bit left right here because this part's going to wrap into the 2 and 3 harness, but we can't do that just yet until we place the coils on it, or place the harness onto the coils, and then that gives us an idea of where this all needs to situate. So how this is going to work is I'm going to put this onto the harness, or onto the coils into the car, and then I'll just basically wrap this a little bit to show where it joins, and then we can clean this the rest of the way up. So our harness is slowly coming together. Okay folks, so here it is. The harness is mostly done. At the end here we joined up all the wires, so we've got all the grounds, all the powers, and then the 2 signal wires, and this is all that's left. So now I'm just going to add this to a Molex connector, and then start pinning up the other side. Alright, so this is the end of the harness here. So I added my Molex connector here, and the only thing that I kind of screwed up on was these 2 wires right here. These are actually labeled, these wires are labeled from the ECU master side. I didn't even look at them, I just plugged them in. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal, but these 2 wires go directly to the EMU now. Then we've got our 2 grounds that go to the cylinder head, and then power. So one other thing that I like to do, which I don't know, is maybe weird, which I guess isn't that big of a deal, but you'll see that there's a gap between the power and the ground wires. I've had connectors in the past where they would melt and then short each other out, you know, like just because like you don't pay attention to routing sometimes, you know, hindsight is always 20/20. So from then on out, anytime that I have like a, you know, obviously they don't make a 5-pin Molex connector, not that I'm aware of anyways, so that's why there's a gap here. That way if something does fail or this does melt for whatever reason, it's going to be mechanically separated, and hopefully that gives us a little bit more margin of error. So but yeah, that's basically it. Once we get a chance, we'll actually wire this into the truck. All right, so I wanted you guys to know that I definitely screwed up. So what I ordered was, I thought was the VW short coils, but I guess I ordered the normal coils, quote unquote, so I had it pinned completely wrong. So I went to put the coil packs in, went to go mess around with it, and nothing, no start, no nothing. Checked all the pins, like it had power, ground, all that stuff. And then I was like, well, maybe these are normal coils. And so I moved the pins around with my pin tool, and now we're gonna try it again. If the coils smoke, then we know that's the problem. Or if it actually runs, we know that that's where we screwed up at. All right, so definitely need to go to adjust it, but look at that. So we got the fresh coils in. We found out that these are actually normal length coils, and there's that. So now we have to go back and adjust the tune for the new coils, but as you can see, it runs. All right, so we got it dialed in. We're gonna have to go back and sync timing. So anytime that you do anything with ignition, you do really have to go back and sync timing, just because of the dwell time has changed a little bit. So I did have to go back and I just played with the settings a little bit. Just to kind of get it in the ballpark. Now keep in mind, I really do have to go back and hit this with the timing light, but you know, I was just messing around with it enough just to get it kind of running, you know, relatively okay. Now the one thing I can tell you though is that it is idling much better than it was before. So we can definitely say that there was an issue probably with these coils. Another thing too is, check this out. Before I couldn't rev past 55, and look at this. So definitely coil upgrade has definitely made a huge difference. So definitely super happy with it. But like I said, now we've got to go back and then sync the timing and all that other jazz. But that's going to be for a different video. But yeah, so definitely coils dropped in, no problems there. Wiring up, no problems there. Now it's just back to tuning. And like I said, as you can see in the video, it's made a huge difference in as far as like being able to rev it up. So I'm super happy there. On the next set of plugs, we may not even need to gap them down now, since we've got the VW coils in it, and it fits pretty damn good. So right now, as you can see, the coils are dropped in right there. We've got the taps like I normally have. We're gonna have to obviously clean that up and rewire it, but that's definitely kind of where it's at right there. So everything seems like it's working pretty good, and we'll sync the timing and then we'll go from there. Oh shoot. So sorry, I shifted in a second and then its phone slipped out of my hand there.